Love it.
Welcome to The Localist, a conversation with local makers and independent entrepreneurs. I'm your host, author of the Localist book, and former small business owner, Carrie Rollwagen. Today, we're talking with restaurateur Jesús Mendez. Jesús, or Chuy, as he's known to his friends and to us, is known, probably most well-known lately for being co-owner of Salud Taqueria and Adios cocktail bar in downtown Birmingham. But he's also part owner of a lot of local favorites, including Lewis Bar and Uno's Tacos at the Pizitz Food Hall and Honest Coffee in Homewood. Jesús has been a top 40 under 40 recipient by the Birmingham Business Journal, and Adios has been recognized by the Spirit Awards and Tales of the Cocktail. They've been named one of the 15 best tequila bars by Food and Wine magazine, and they've been a semifinalist for a James Beard Award. So we have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to, you own a lot of different, I kind of want to start because you own a lot of different things. And I was curious, what is that process like to you? Do you normally see a hole in the market and think, you know, Birmingham needs this? Or is it more like you follow an interest and that kind of develops and that becomes like a new bar or a new restaurant? Or is it just a mix?
It's a mix of everything. I think for the first two things that my first business opportunities were actually at the Pizitz Food Hall. Mm-hmm. And that was in 2018. And that's kind of where it all started for me. Mm-hmm. And that was my first business opportunity. It was my first partnership. And it was my first intro actually into downtown Birmingham and understanding the full market. And most importantly, kind of just the communities from the north side, the south side, mm-hmm. what Birmingham is and who and what we want to become the next few years. Then after that, the curiosity standpoint and my entrepreneurship, I guess, was like, we need these cool things, you know? And so I think so. Yes, I wait for Birmingham's growth, and then I'm like, okay, we're ready to open this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so you're kind of hitting the point now.
Yeah. So with Pizitz, were you involved from the beginning when they were just talking about it, or okay?
No, not at all. I kind of came in late. I think Pizitz opened in 2017. My business partners, Ventron and Arnold Sony at that time, opened up stalls in the food hall.
So and it's Onopoke one?
Onopoke and Silvercati, I believe, an Indian concept mm-hmm. there.
Yeah. And
I believe the Pizitz had contracted a company out of New York to have 3 stalls there. Mm-hmm. A taco stall, the bar in the middle, and Farah, which was like an Italian restaurant at that time. And from what I know, I don't know them, you know, so I'm not going to speak badly about them. Just operations weren't there. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of just got up and left.
Yeah.
And the Pizitz, or at that time, Bayer Properties, reached out to Arnold and then, and they reached out to me. And at that time, I was working for Frankstead at Chez Fonfon in Highlands. And so we kind of just connected, and then I saw a business opportunity to come in as a partner and take over the main bar, and then from there it just all started.
Well, and I don't know if this is what happened there at all, but I kind of see this a lot where places from like New York or LA or some of the really big cities are kind of like, oh, we'll do something in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. But, and again, I don't know enough about the inside, what happened, but I think sometimes they just try to copy and paste the same concept. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't work, really.
It doesn't work.
It's a different market. Yeah.
I don't think it does. To me, I preach and I talk about it all the time. I understand the formula for Birmingham, and I have the secret ingredients for Birmingham. And it's not, oh, let me put a pizza concept here, or let me put if you're from LA or New York City or whatever. Birmingham is not that.
Yeah.
Birmingham is actually more homegrown. Mm-hmm. Like, I can literally announce right now, I'm going to open up a hot dog stand tomorrow, and I'll have a line.
Right. Yeah.
Why? Because they don't care about the hot dog. They just care about their operators. They care about their people. I think Birmingham is more proud of what we're producing internally than what's coming in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea for someone from Atlanta or Nashville or anybody to come in. Yeah, please come. But Birmingham as a whole, Carrie, Jen, Caleb, everybody wants to know the owner. They want to know the manager. They want to know the chef.
Yeah.
then they'll want to talk about your fish.
Well, absolutely. Like, I think that is getting to know that community first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think that's kind of the secret? Or are there other things that you think, like...
It's the secret.
Yeah,
You just have to meet the community,
Yeah.
meet the people, meet the politicians, meet the nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
I literally try and target all my concepts are all melting pots.
Mm-hmm.
I reach out to every single person and I want them to come into my establishment.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, even if you don't have the money for it, I'm going to get your money regardless one way or another.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give you a discount, you know, but
Yeah.
I want you to come and enjoy my places.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would guess some of that experience as a server was also, like, because that's kind of what you're doing in those situations is, like, you're getting to know people, you're having conversations, you're learning about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was that part of, because you mentioned, did you mention Highlands? But
Mm-hmm.
you've worked Highlands, Chez Fanfan, is it Bottega? Yeah.
Taco Mama,
Mhm.
Margarita Grill, Christina Superior, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know everywhere it's like greatest hits from like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
like more like fine dining and also just like fast casual. Like
Mhm.
it seems like you've worked across the board in those.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an obvious question, like probably an obvious answer, but like how did that like experience play into owning your own places?
Well, if you ask the right question, I'm actually not in the business of restaurants or bars. I'm not in the business of hospitality. I'm not in the business of any of that, actually. I'm more in the business of people.
Yeah.
I actually love people. I'm
Yeah.
very curious, and I guess that's why my dating life sucks, because I like meeting people, you know? And so it's just like, I think since a very young age, at 21, when I got into the restaurant field, I picked up bartending really quickly. I picked up serving really quickly, but it wasn't because I wanted to make tips. I was just because I just wanted to know people, I wanted to meet people. I'm nosy sometimes, and I'm like, what are they talking about? You know, what are they arguing about? You know, let me put some extra chips, even though they don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm in the business of people, and that kind of just developed into finding my own niche, and then kind of rooting down to, wait, I'm really good at Mexican food. I'm really good at margaritas. Let me just stay this lane, you know, and then continue to develop experiences for people.
Yeah. Well, I think that's we talked about kind of authenticity is an overused word, but like that people want to feel that community, want to feel like you care about them as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it matters when you actually do, you know? Which
big
is,
time.
I do think that's fun. That was one of the things I loved about like serving coffee. And then also what I love about this is like you just get to ask questions and just, I don't know, it's kind of fun what people will tell you, even when you're just like even when I was making them coffee or something. It's just fun to hear about their lives, you know?
And like it's cool. Like coffee's interesting because at least in the human field, how I see it is, you're the first person that they see in the morning, and you kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
You know, and so if I'm not smiling, if I'm not, hey, what's up? Good morning. How are you?
Yeah.
And if I'm just grumpy and be like, hi, what do you want, bro? Like.
Yeah.
You just ruin that person's mood for the rest of the day. I've always analyzed that, like how do I make this person be happy the rest of the day, especially with coffee. I was only in that field for a little while, but but I was good to analyze and learn it and see it.
Yeah.
And just
because those things are common throughout service. But yes, that is very true. That I'm thinking. You know, I'm seeing people before they've had their coffee. They're very, very, very vulnerable at that point.
Very. So you get to choose their demeanor the rest of the day.
Right,
honestly.
exactly. And I think that attitude toward serving people throughout, whether or not it's coffee or drinks or food, because you're also seeing people. A lot of people are out and celebrating. There are also a lot of people who are out and feeling awkward, not feeling welcome. And so when you can create that environment, I think it matters, like wanting to do that.
100%. I think I love it, you know, and every single experience that I've had, especially in ownership, but I also do that in partnerships. I do that in management. I do that in teams. I do it in my kitchen staff. I do it front of the house, back of the house. It's not just front of the house with people. It's also with my people that are around me, because I preach and I preach and I preach over and again. Like yesterday, I got in an argument with an employee. It wasn't an argument. It was just more of like, what are you doing type of situation, because I develop people as well. I can only go open up another concept if my team is on board with me. But if they're not and they're slacking or they're not showing up on time or they're not producing enough product in the kitchen, then I can't go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how do you develop those teams? Like, do you have a strategy? Do you have like books or people you like to follow that kind of have philosophies that you like as far as doing that? Or do you just think you came up in different teams and you've kind of like just feeling that out?
I came up in different teams.
Yeah.
I faced a lot of hardships and managements and growth at Kisner Superior.
Mm-hmm.
So that when I came out of there, I was like, you know what? I never want to treat my management team like that if I ever have one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at Margate Grill, I was coached very properly about PR and people and connecting with people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, RJ and Javier Jerez do an amazing job of creating an atmosphere of smiles.
Yeah.
The food's okay, but like just going in there, they have energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, and I saw that. I'm like, oh man, that's great. Working with Pardis and Frank. Well, working with Pardis, I understood hospitality. I understood like sharpness, putting your phone away, not putting a cologne on because you're going to distract the guests from their experience with their wine. You know, all of these things. You can't have an Apple Watch because you don't want to have a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Like just being keen and sharp. I learned from her. And with Frank, man, this man was passionate about food, so I learned that at least to teach my kitchen staff. That's not how you cook that steak. This sauce is too salty, or that tortilla is burnt, and if they see that I care, then they care.
Yeah.
So I kind of, and then Taco Mama showed me complete operations, you know, and then how to develop the culture of working together, front of the house and back of the house, because what Will Haver's doing for his company and across the board and building more restaurants is very inspiring. You know?
It is. Like they do, I feel like they've really systemized getting you in and out and not feeling like they're trying to get you in and out.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they are, but you don't notice it,
exactly,
you know?
You're just like, wow, they've created a wonderful experience for me. Because that, we talked about a little bit before, that was down the street from my coffee shop. So when they opened up, I feel like they were welcomed into Mountain Brook really quickly, which is rare. Like usually we kind of say, like because I used to run another coffee shop and bookstore in Mountain Brook before, and it's typically like 5 years before you're kind of embraced by that community, I think. But Taco Mama was really quick, you know. So
it's a killer concept.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's funny because everyone is trying to. I don't know about everyone, but I know when people are trying to copy them. I'm like, you can't. You know, like Will Haver and his team are geniuses. Yeah, they're good at what they do. You either work for them or you don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And but luckily for me, like I just don't know them. I know other companies, and I was able just to mesh everything that I learned and become who I am now.
Yeah. Well, I also think you were talking about what Birmingham wants. I think there are a lot of assumptions about when people go into Mountain Brook that they're thinking like, well, I can charge whatever I want, but people in Mountain Brook don't want to pay more for like a taco or a coffee either. So I think knowing that community, like you were saying, even if you're bringing a new concept in, just knowing the community a little bit is
absolutely
really essential. So as you kind of developed downtown, because a lot of your, like most of your concepts are downtown, right?
Yes.
What did you learn about like downtown versus maybe being somewhere else? Or were you just bringing different things into it, or?
Well, there's two things about Birmingham, and maybe I'm being a little bit too emotional about it, you know, and because one of my mentors told me not to mix emotions with business.
Yeah.
But two things about Birmingham that keep me here is that I genuinely do love this city. I do love its people. I love its community. Moving in 2016 from Shelby County here was a flip. Shelby County honestly didn't, if you're listening, like it was okay, but I wasn't really loved and I wasn't really embraced, you know. And then when I came to Birmingham, working at Casina, just a network of people, and then just getting to know me and meet me, and these are true stories. I would just talk at Casina, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have my own bar in Birmingham one day, and then people were like, yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Like they believed you. You know, they believed me, and I'm like, thanks, you know. And then now I'll see him at Adios and be like, dude, remember 5-6 years ago when you were talking? Like, it's happening, you know. And it's Birmingham's people are just so inspiring and embracing. And like I said, that's when I started realizing the little secret sauce of like they want their operators to develop here. And then my major breakthrough of like falling in love with the city was actually during the pandemic. So around this time,
Right.
you know, what are we, the 17th,
Yeah.
18th? So in 2 days, 5 years ago, I announced that I was going to open up curbside Unos Tacos at the food hall.
Right.
And I never got my grand opening.
Mm-hmm.
I lost all my employees. The city shut down. It looked like something out of a movie.
Right.
And I invested all my money on this stall, you know, and it was just me, my dad, my parents quit their jobs to come and support me for this taco concept at the food hall, you know, and we didn't have any money. I spent $60 on a case of chicken. I spent $30 on 10 pounds of chorizo. I spent, I think, $60 on some steak, some tortillas, and we just chopped some quesadillas and I think all in, I was like $300. And I'm like, for money that's not coming in, that's a lot of money at that time.
Right. Yeah.
I made a really just sad post on Instagram, you know, like, hey, me and my parents are about to open up this taco stand. We would really appreciate it if you came.
Mm-hmm.
I shit you know, like people pulled up the next day during the shutdown with their mask. There was a line out the door. Yeah. And here I am just taking your order out the door and running in, sprinting, cooking tacos with my dad.
That's not very close for people who have it. Yeah.
I lost like 10 pounds in that season, but miss it. Anyways, we sold out in 2 hours and like I teared up and I'm like, God, my food sucks, you know, because it wasn't good. I didn't have the time to fix it, but I'm like, but Birmingham is so cool. Yeah. You know, like they don't care. Mm-hmm. Let's not even talk about Cinco de Mayo. They were out there too making a mess. But after I came out of that, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, this is where I want to be. And I made some other concepts that didn't really work out, you know, like I went into the chicken wing concept, not my thing. I got into the coffee concept, not really my thing either. And that's when I realized, wait, I should focus on who I am more. Mm-hmm. So like my recipe is still my community and my culture.
Yeah. Well, even being able to try things and then get out of them is something that I think marks you as a successful business owner, but I think is very difficult for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. How did you did that just come naturally? Like the ability to just be like, okay, this is okay. Like I tried it. It didn't work. I'm going to get out. Like, or is that a really difficult emotional process or?
It's a very difficult emotional process. Mm-hmm. It's actually more of like my blueprint of my own life, you know? So, but I've already faced, I'm a very spiritual believer of, you know, I carry God with everywhere I go with me. And it sucks, and it's really hard to teach people these things because they have never walked in my shoes. So I've had a lot of hardships. I thank God I'm going to therapy for, but it's just like that I carry along with me that I'm like, oh, this sucks right now, but then I look back and I'm like, oh no, but that sucked even more.
You're right.
I am blessed to be in this position. Yeah, this didn't work out. And it's okay. Yeah. On to the next. Just learn, keep that lesson. I learn from the lesson and I move it forward. I don't carry the weight. I don't break down. I don't cry about it. I don't gossip about it. I don't get angry about it. I don't showcase. If you know me and you work for me, it takes a lot to piss me off. Yeah. But when it comes to business and money and partnerships, it is what it is. You know, you gotta wait it out.
Well, I think that's so much of what success in business is, and it's something that I didn't know. Like when I left Church Street, initially I felt like it was so difficult. Even though it was the right time to do it and it made sense logically, I still felt like, well, this was like a bookstore coffee shop. Like this is who I am. Like leaving this felt like just dramatic and emotional. But it was interesting to me talking to, because we were in Mountain Brook, like there are a lot of other business owners there. And I also saw a difference between like men and women, because women would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. And most of the men would just say like, well, good. That's what you're supposed to do with the business. Yeah. You're supposed to sell it, you know? Yeah. And that was like, I think there's a little bit of truth in both, but like, it was really interesting to me that I just hadn't seen that perspective, that part of business is trying something, moving on, selling something, admitting something didn't work. And that is just part of the process. It's not a failure at all.
No.
It's just, that's how you do this. you know, which I didn't realize because that's not the kind of background I came from, you know.
Yeah. No, it's better to be on the battlefield than be in the stands.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you lose, you tried.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And then there's people out there that will always, I still have them, that will always criticize me for certain losses. But I'm like, hey, bro, at least I tried.
Well, that's also why you've had so many successes.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were just saying like, I'm going to do the safe play and this is my one thing, you wouldn't, it seems like if you hadn't taken this journey, you wouldn't have Salud and Adios,
Absolutely.
which are, at least from the outside, are hugely successful. They're like the places.
They are. Yeah, the places are amazing. But it's not all me. You know, I'm kind of the instigator of all these things. So I'm like, hey, I out of our team, and I have a great team. So that's my other like recipe is I'm associated and I'm partnered with great people. And there's a lot of money on the table, but we all pitch in. We all do our capital calls. We all do our investments, and we all have meetings. Say, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. We all work together, and we wait. And when there's a check to split, we split rightfully so. And when there's not, we talk it out. Labor costs, food costs, what happened, all these things, and no anger, no hatred, no envy, no greed. And those are the partnerships that I pursue now. Definitely.
Well, I think when you're talking about not bringing emotion into business, I think that's the part not to bring emotion in. When you're serving people and connecting with people, I think that's different. Like, I think the emotion is appropriate there, you know?
It's intentional for sure.
Yeah. But how did you build the team? So is it the same team that is involved in all the different restaurants, or is it like you have different partners for different restaurants?
It's switched up a lot now. Some of the partnerships since the very beginning have kind of separated, you know? But we all grow and we all go in different directions. No, nothing bad with that.
Which that's very normal too, which I don't think people before they go into business realize, like, that's just normal. It's not,
My current team now is kind of just, they start with like kind of uncomfortable conversations, but you need to have them because it's like, I'm very, like for me, at least in my partnerships, whoever wants to be my partner, I'm on the long run. You know, like I'm here to build, work, look at the market, and build and grow within, looking for my next operator, looking for my next business partner that works for me now. I no longer, one, I don't think I ever have, and then two, I'm not that type of person that will go and poach you at your business. Hey man, are you happy here? You know, like no, you know, and I've been very blessed actually, especially with my team at Salud. They all came to me, and they're awesome. You know, some with no experience, some in different restaurants, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna work out. And they just underdogs, you know, like I'm so proud of them, and then they make Salud. Because I'm there day to day, you know, and but my current team now, like Jose is all liquid. He looks at everything from what water bottle you're drinking to what high-end tequila you're going to be sipping on. From what type of juices, what type of milk. He looks at all of that. He's a genius at that. He's literally a magician to that. So he takes care of everything Salud, everything Adios, liquid. And he's the main factor on why we got that James Beard, you know, nomination. So congrats to him. I have another partner who just looks at operations, and he helps me with my labor costs and my food cost. It's like analyzes all these numbers, like, hey, we can do this and that, and taxes and stuff like that. Another guy does all my legal, and then you have me, which is just on the floor. I can't do all that. I'll go crazy, you know. And we all have this idea of like, let's establish these places, make a set foundation for our employees and our managers, and when we're ready, we'll look at the next concept. But we just don't create and dump and leave, you know. Like, we have to really make sure the foundation is there.
It's interesting to have like people who are legal and the money like on the team, because I think a lot of people are outsourcing that, and a lot of small businesses just try to do it themselves. Like they do try to do it themselves. And I think like there are two things I hear the most on the podcast. Like one is I should have hired an accountant earlier.
Yep, definitely, yes.
And the other is like I've learned from my team. Like my trying to manage people has shown me like all of my deficiencies as a person. Those are like the two things that come up the most. But yeah, I think that's like a really cool way to approach it, is finding people who can actually be part of this, who have those specializations. Because a lot of times we, like, if we're starting a business, we either love this thing we're doing or we're just like creative people. And it is good to have a balance of someone who's creative as an accountant, or creative accounting is probably bad, but you know, like they
that handles all that.
Love that,
you know?
yeah. Or they look at legal in a certain way, like that is helpful.
I think once again it goes with people. Like as I choose my partners or pick and choose my partners, I can be like, I love this guy. I can see myself growing 2-3 more concepts with this person. Let's knock this out.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you're like, oh, man, that one didn't really work out. You know, this is the last one we do.
Yeah.
Then move on. You know, but you definitely need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it helps me at least stay in love with what I'm doing. Because if I had to deal with all that alone, one, I would still be stuck with 1 or 2 concepts. And then 3, I probably hate what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the reason why some restaurateurs and some bar owners are like, I'm done. I'm tired or I'm burnt out. Well, dude, I'm sorry that you don't have a team. Yeah.
Well, that is so much. I mean, legal issues and tax issues, money issues, like burn a lot of people out so quickly. I mean, I'm one of them. I don't enjoy that. Like, But that is a lot of business owners going into it saying like, well, I'll save money by doing this myself. But then, and I get that, but you're also taking so much of the joy out of what you're doing, because then you become an accountant instead of a restaurateur or instead of whatever you're doing. Well, how did you make the leap for your first business? Like, what made you think, like, I mean, you've been thinking about doing it for a long time, because my story is a little bit different. I theoretically thought about having a coffee shop and bookstore.
Yeah.
But then, and I used to work at Church Street, used to be a Starbucks, and I worked there years before, and then the guy who was my manager there called and said, like, hey, Starbucks is moving out. Do you want to do this? So I just thought, this is a ship going by. Either I'm going to get on it or I'm going to just admit, like, I don't want to do this.
Yes,
you know? But what was your story of that first concept? Was it an opportunity that came to you, or were you like, no, I want to make this happen?
Okay. I think, so I obviously talk a lot, but it's...
That's your job here.
So But I started saying some really interesting things at a very young age in my career. I'm not talking about when I was 6 or 12. But, I mean, the hustle has always been engraved in me. You know, I started flipping chicken biscuits in the 9th grade. You know, I would go Chick-fil-A, buy them for, back then when they cost $1.35. Yeah. And sell them for $5 at the cafeteria.
I love that that's what you mean. I thought flipping chicken biscuits were like you were in the kitchen. No, I'm making a profit.
Making a profit. As soon as I got my car, before I even got my driver's license, I just got in the car, went to Chick-fil-A, and you know, and I was always been in the hustle game for sure. Yeah. So that's just in me. But I'm gonna send you a video, and it's very interesting, and I saved it. And there's a video where in 2014. I was a manager at Margarita Grill, and have you ever hears this? I'm at the gym, and the manager happened to have like Fox 6 News or something come in, and that's back when Shelby County quit being a dry town on Sundays or whatever. Yeah. And they're like, they want to do an interview. And then so my manager's like, hey, please come over and do this interview. I can't do it. I'm like, okay, you know. So it was like one of my first interviews. And then here I am, and looking all shabby or whatever. Yeah. And then we start talking, and I used to start talking, saying some crazy stuff. And one of the crazy stuff is, oh, yeah, we're going to open up another Margarita Grill in Jefferson County. We're super excited. That was never in the plans. Never in the plans. And it caused a commotion because Jefferson County, Birmingham, you know, everybody was like, oh, whoa, there's a Margarita Grill coming, you know. Man, Javier bitched at me the next day. Yeah. He was like, what are you doing? Yeah. What are you talking about? Like, we've never discussed this. Yeah. Why are you, you just think you're opening up a restaurant? And in my head, me being oblivious, because I was his floor manager and bar manager at that time, it's like, why not? Yeah. That was literally my response. Why not? And I kind of remember his face being like he didn't know how to answer that. Yeah. And I'm like, you have the team, we have the people, we have the product. Yeah. Don't you got money? Like, go find a place, you know? He let me go 2 years later. Yeah. It is what it is. But that's when I realized, like, maybe I'm not meant to be a manager. Maybe I'm meant to own something one day. And I went to Casino Superior, and even when it didn't work out, they still developed me. And then that just something in me was like, I want to grow in Birmingham. And then I said it again. I want to have a taco and a tequila place. I found one investor at that time that was going to give me $150,000 to open up a concept in, where's that area where Lifetime is at?
Oh, like
that little area. It's like Vestavia Hills or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I found the place. I have found the location. I saw it, and this is with no brokers. This is no knowledge whatsoever.
Right, yeah.
I saw the space. I'm like, hey, this would be a great spot. I can see it working, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I don't know, man. You're too young. You're too young was always the excuse.
Yeah.
But I had the will, you know? And then what happened 5 months later? Chronic Tacos goes in.
Yeah.
Like what?
And then,
And I'm like, I told you like a taco place would go there.
Yeah.
This would be a great. Someone beat me to it.
Yeah,
I was so mad.
Yeah.
Chronic Taco closes a year later.
Yeah.
So like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I think it was just always in me. It was always in me. And I actually gave up when I turned 29.
Yeah.
So I had this idea, this timeline as a man that if I didn't have my business by the time that I was 30, that I was actually going to be done.
Yeah.
I was just going to be a professional server or bartender the rest of my life. Like I was actually okay with that.
Yeah.
And I was working for Frank. I had a really good job. I was making good money. But life took a turn, and I got a phone call to own my first bar with my partners now, and took over the Lewis at the Pizitz.
I mean, that's awesome. I felt the same about turning 30. I felt like there's something about, maybe it is if you have kind of like a hustle mentality anyway. I felt like I was behind.
Yeah.
But also I felt
like I'm still behind.
Well, yeah, me too. But I also felt relieved almost when I turned 30, because I was like, okay, I did what I did. Now I don't have that same timeline anymore. But so Lewis Bar was the first that you were involved in. So like in some ways, I guess it's the same that somebody approached you and you're like, yeah, let's do it. This is my chance.
That was my chance. They brought me in. They had me a little interview with Centennial. They made me their new, what my title is right now is managing partner for the Lewis Bar. And I did mess up a little bit, which is natural. I went from making like $40,000 a year bartending to like 80. So it doubled because I was an owner now, and I was looking at profits, and I was sharing this with other people.
Right.
But I was making money.
Yeah.
And I made a couple of mistakes for 6-7 months where I was just buying dumb crap.
Right,
Because I'd never seen that money before.
Exactly, yeah.
But then my mentor and still a partner was like, hey, man, the formula to getting your next concept is actually saving the money, building the accounts, and then looking for the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if an opportunity opens up and then you don't got your money to put in, you don't get a chance.
Yeah. Well, did that mentorship evolve naturally, or do you go looking for people and say like, hey, I want you to be my mentor, or is it more like you're working with somebody and it's just? I'm not gonna lie. I think God just put these people in my life. I got different mentors for different things. Spiritual. I got finances. I got a father figure. You know, I got business partners where we both are just like Vin. It's like the brother that I never had. Even besides being my best friend and one of my best business partners, he's still like a figure to me because he has a beautiful wife, has beautiful children, and that's something that I want one day. Right. Yeah.
You know, like I want to own multiple things with my wife and my kids and bring them to you know, like, hey, this is what we do, kids. You know. Yeah. And so, him without realizing, he's mentoring me because I'm like, I want to have that one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's just more people. Now I don't go to nobody because I come from a different generation. Especially being a Mexican male, that when I was 15, 16 years old and I would see other successful restaurateurs or seeing successful construction contractors, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? In my era, they'd be like, sácate pinche mocoso. You know, like, get out of my face, you snobby kid. Yeah. So I kind of grew up ashamed of asking for help in a sense. But I was always been blessed that I opened up a door and there was someone there who just shook my hand, like, hey, let me show you how to do this. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I think even once you kind of take your first step into business ownership too, at least in my experience, people are more open. Like, I think once we signed a lease at Church Street, people were way more open to meeting with us.
Mm-hmm.
But before, it was kind of like, yeah, I've heard this 1,000 times. Like, I'm not gonna sit down with you, you know?
Mm-hmm,
Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, now they listen.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't care about me 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But now I walk into a room and they're like, oh,
yeah.
there's Chuy, and I'm like, and I'm still the same person from 6 years ago. Yo,
Right.
what's up? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, do you? And this, it may be too early to do this, but do you develop those relationships with like the people who are serving for you or your team members that are like, hey, like, do they have the opportunity to learn about the business side also?
All the time.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm doing interviews.
Mm-hmm.
When I do an interview, on my pitch
Mm-hmm.
is actually this. And I think people, especially in my field, people don't care what your resume is and what you've done in the past. What I've noticed is that people are actually more intrigued and more invested in your projections. I am projected to build 2 or 3 more concepts, and they want to invest in that. So when I did my interviews, they didn't care that I worked at Highlands.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, so what are you doing next, and how do I get onto that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to build this next year, and the only way you can be part of that team, or if you want to be a partnership or a manager, is by actually starting here.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to show me that I can trust you. You need to show me that you can be here on time. You need to show me that you care about my product.
Yeah.
You got to show me that you care about my legacy and my culture and my parents, most importantly, because this is food or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? And you also got to care about people.
Yeah.
If you don't care about the guests that are coming into this establishment, you and I cannot work together.
Well, it's like interesting to have that as a pipeline because like even now I run Infomedia, which is a web development company, but I still love to hire people from the service industry because I'm like, those are things that you can't teach as well. Like I can teach you how to edit WordPress, you know, like, or someone else can at least. But it's hard to teach you to care about the person on the other end of the phone, you know? So that is interesting that because it's restaurants, that's kind of a natural pipeline that you start off with the basics almost.
Well, the generations are different now.
Yeah.
You know, like after COVID, there's been a complete switch.
It does seem like service has changed a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. What I'm noticing now is that the old school bartenders and servers or restaurant people, I might get some backlash for this, don't care as much. The ones that care now are actually the ones that are leaving working in social media or the baristas that are going to bartenders, you know, like, or I'm just seeing an influx of new people walking in and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of my 9 to 5. How do I bartend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, sure, I got you. And because I deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a girl that moved from Tennessee to Birmingham who was a barista. I'm like, I want to bartend. Well, I love that you cared about people in the mornings. I think you're going to be killer for bartending.
Yeah.
I had another one who went from commercial real estate or managing commercial residential, whatever, to go into bartending. Kills it as well.
Yeah.
You know? But it's also very difficult to teach them about like the bad side about the industry as well, because there's a lot of alcohol, there's a lot of late nights, there's a lot of people that want to talk to you for the wrong reasons, you know. So that's a whole different culture that I also have to teach and guide and coach. Yeah.
Well, we probably need to wrap up soon, but I actually wanted to ask you about the interiors because it seems like at Salud and Adios especially, there's a lot of attention paid to not just like the service and the food, but also like the environment.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Is that true? Is my first thing, or did that just happen? But like, how did you approach that? Was that different? Because in Pizitz, like you're in a different situation. Like it seems like there's only so much you can control of the environment, you know? So how did that come about? How did you put that
every design that I have is rooted to a particular moment in my life. So, and I'm grateful that I have Morgan Soward, who is my interior designer. And I don't even call her interior designer. I just call her the pilot of the spaceship in my creativity mind to just go into different bubbles in my head and be like, oh, this is what he's talking about.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And she's able to just boom, put it on an empty canvas.
That's kind of how I follow her on Insta. I mean, we're friends a little bit, but
she's
like
awesome. You should really
like I saw so much about the restaurants before from just like her talking about the story behind them, which was really cool to follow. So
and like Adios was kind of designed and built into this future hacienda home that I want to have when I'm in my 50s, 60s. Like, I want my house to look like this.
That's awesome.
Salud is actually built of my hometown in Mexico, so the terracotta floor is actually the dirt roads in my house.
Yeah.
The green is actually the banana leaves that was the roof at the home that I lived. The wood that you see everywhere is actually the walls of the house.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a nod to where I was born, and I was able to okay, this is how I'm going to design this, and so I don't lose my touch.
Yeah.
Because I want to work in places that I actually am comfortable and I love, and I'm at home.
Yeah.
And all my other designs are just like in my head are actually based off of my travels.
Yeah.
I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't turn it off because even now when I go into a restaurant, I'm like, come on. I'm looking at everything.
Yeah.
The lighting, the bathrooms, the floor. They can pick that up,
It's the bathrooms for me. I'm always like, how could they afford this bathroom?
Yeah. And so I just have a portfolio of creative things in my head that I can't wait to showcase to Birmingham.
Well, and I think things like that, like you don't have to, you kind of feel it when you come in. You don't have to know this is because of banana leaves and this is a terracotta, but you get that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were meeting with the designer for my husband's jiu-jitsu gym yesterday, and he was talking about like, how's the brand aging? Like, do you use these phrases? Because we have these big posters, and do you use these? And we were like, no, we don't use them. We don't say them because we don't have to, because it's part of the brand and people get that, you know? So it's almost like you don't have to bring it into like a corporate thing where everything is, you train everyone. This is why, this means this means this. It's actually just like you feel at home, even if you don't know the breakdown of where everything came from.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
And it goes back to that emotion connections that I developed at a young age. How do I? And I was telling one of my kids yesterday. My staff. I call them my kids. I'm like, hey man, like, I want you to, when you walk into this place as an employee, you need to walk in as a guest. What am I feeling? What am I seeing? And once you start searching that lens, you actually get better at your job.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what are the guests experiencing, and what can I fix before an issue actually happens? So that's part of training.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, can you talk about what's next for you, or is it just kind of like we should wait and see? Like,
I have a personal goal, and that is to either announce or build something every single year. So I think I'm gonna quit doing what I'm doing in my 40s. I'm 36 now, and by the time I'm 40, I want to have a couple businesses established and staples for Birmingham. And so people talk about Birmingham just like they talk about Atlanta and Nashville and Asheville and Memphis and whatever. Birmingham, we're getting there.
Which food-wise, I think especially. I think in other creative areas it's harder, but food, I think we're closer. Kind of.
We have one more concept called El Tigre, and all I can really say is it's going to be super fun. Yeah. But Birmingham is finally getting close to being what it wants, And it's going to be a big stepping stone forward to keeping that youth. And it's going to be another melting pot for all the ages to come and enjoy as well. Yeah. So I'll probably announce that in the next 2-3 weeks of what it's actually going to be. And
awesome. It may be about when the podcast comes out, since we're recording
sweet.
A little early.
Yeah. That'd be cool. And so, and once again, it's going to be in downtown Birmingham. Same teams, and we know what we're doing. And I feel that my partnerships, especially the names that are in my team, we're trustworthy. Like, oh, those guys are opening. It's gonna be great. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, from the total outside, I think that's true. I mean, you saw that a little bit with Salud. That it was already, people were like, "This is gonna be great." That's what I was hearing. Like, "This is gonna be great." Yeah. And then it opened. It's like, "This is great."
This is gonna be the Google reviews are there. Thank God.
Everybody, it's like funny because people will discover it at work. Like, it's kind of like a wave a little bit. That they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is this great place that we should go. And it's like, yeah, I know. Like, but every couple of weeks, somebody new at work is like, have you been to Salud?
Yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, I feel like we could talk forever, but you have things to do. We need to stop. But like, so is the best way to interact just to follow you guys on Instagram and come hang out, come eat? Yeah.
Come out. Come and eat. Usually when I'm on the floor, I'm just like focused on work, you know. But I'm very approachable, I feel. You can definitely find me on Instagram. LinkedIn, I'm not really on there as much as I need to be. Facebook, not much. But I'm literally always on 1st and 2nd Avenue. You really can't miss me.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the best way. Come and buy some food.
Yeah, come and say what's up.
Yeah,
you know, and then I'll sit down and talk to you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you so much for doing this. I love
Thank
this
you for having me.
conversation.
This is fun.
The Localist podcast is written by me, Carrie Rollwagen, and produced at Infomedia Studios. If you're interested in podcasting or just shooting some reels for your social media or getting any video or photography, hit us up at infomedia.com and fill out that contact form. We would love to talk about how to help. You can find show notes and more about this week's topic at carrierollwagen.com and find me on social media pretty much everywhere at CRollwagen. Our showrunner is Taylor Davis. Jen Tucker is our outreach manager, and Elena Harmond is our promotions manager. Until next time, here's to thinking global by acting local and putting small shops before big box.